Hey guys, so today we are talking about making the transition of your brand, your product or your service from being a want to being a need. Now, what is the difference between a want and a need? It's very, very simple. The only things that human beings need, so the basic human needs are, food, water, shelter and clothes, right? Those are the things that we need. But brands are able to really dominate the industry and continue to expand their consumer base and their audience when they position their product as a need for their customers, right? Something that we need to have. So anything else that we kind of purchase, so whether that be makeup or tech stuff or, stuff for your house, all of that stuff is just kind of wants that we've been convinced are needs that we need to survive. So how can you maximize this kind of psychological phenomenon? How can you use that to the advantage of the brand that you're building? So that's why we're talking about how to make your brand a need for your potential clients. Okay, so I'm going to quickly talk through 5 different ways in which you can really get the most out of this and make that transition effectively. So the first thing you really need to do in order to make your brand a need is to plot out the customer journey. This is something that a lot of branding people talk about, a lot of marketing people talk about, because it is so important. So think about kind of on your website where and how easy is it for customers to be able to see what you do, see what you're about, see what you're offering, and be able to check out with it? How easy is that process? Because the longer that process is, the more complicated that process is, the more likely you're going to get dropouts before completion, right? So thinking about, okay, when the customer reaches my website, what do they actually experience? What do they see, and how easy and accessible is it for them? You could also think about this from inquiry stage as well for the graphic designers and freelancers out there. The process from when someone sends in an initial email inquiry to when the project is completed, what are the steps through that, and is it a benefit to the client? Is it easy for the client, or is it a complex journey? And just think about it in totality, just so you can build something that's far easier and more accessible for the client. The second thing that you can do is, at every single point of that journey, just reinforce the value so that, again, you reduce the dropout rate. I mean, how many people have inquired with you? It will always be very different to the amount of people that actually go ahead, right? So always consciously at every point of that journey, reinforcing the value that this person is going to get is a really, really good way to reinforce your brand or your product or your service as a need. Okay, the third thing that you could do is to always remember to manage their expectations from the outset. This is what people call qualifying leads, right? So being sure and being clear on what the outcome of whatever product you're selling or whatever service you're offering, what the end product of that will be, just so it's clear for them. And so that, they're able to commit fully to something that they fully understand and are fully aware of. So be sure to manage the expectations right from the beginning, again, to reduce that dropout rate as you go through the process or as they go through your website, etc., etc. The fourth thing that you should do is to be authentic in all of kind of your customer interactions with them, right? It's really, really important to have amazing customer service, right? So being attentive, listening to what they have to say, answering their questions, and just to kind of any concerns that they have, just to kind of handle those so that they feel confident in you as the service provider or as the product provider or the brand, whatever. That's really, really important for establishing your brand or your platform or whatever it is as a need, because then they know that they can trust you and you really build that rapport with them, which is essential in any successful brand. And the fifth and final thing that you could do is to really harness the power of word of mouth marketing. Okay, so when you deliver a great service or a great product, get people to leave you testimonials, get people to leave you reviews, and really just gather what we call social proof, right, that your product or your brand works. You saying that what you do is excellent is nowhere as convincing as a stranger that they don't know, saying that your work is good. Why? Because obviously you're going to say your work is good, right? You're not going to say my work is terrible. So it's just a lot more believable when it comes from someone else. So really harnessing that, and when people inquire with you, have it there, have them be like, look, this is what someone said about my work, or this is the review that they left on my website about how how well they thought I did. So just really taking control of that and really harnessing that power that lies in kind of word of mouth marketing is a really important way of being able to establish your brand as a need. Apple is probably one of the biggest brands that does this so well, right? Word of mouth has kind of helped them to spread their brand like wildfire, right? So even thinking about silly things like when people tweet and be like, oh, this is my favorite Apple feature, that is word of mouth marketing, right? And so someone else will see it and be like, oh, like that feature would be really useful for me, and so off the back of that they go and buy an iPhone, right? So it's just small things like that, but just really being able to kind of harvest that as much as possible and encourage people to share their experiences with other people as part of your brand strategy. So that would be my advice for you guys in terms of shifting and making that transition of your brand, your service, your product from being just a want to really a need, something that people need to buy from you. Okay, so definitely do bear those things in mind, and hopefully in this new year your brand will grow from strength to strength.